you really just got to dig deep and remember that, being in filmmaking, being in this industry is a marathon, not a sprint. Some people, they get to, have their first feature film distributed by Netflix. That's not
Right.
always going to be the case. We don't know if that's due to nepotism or the fact that their father was a celebrity actor, celebrity producer. Like, we don't know.
You don't know the full story. Yeah.
Exactly. So you just got to take what you're given and make the most out of it. And that's what I did. And that's why, I'm here, and that's why I still have so much more to do. But yeah, figure out a way to just drown the noise and, get it done with the resources that you have.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life? Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
Like, she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Today I have a good friend, prolific filmmaker, Adrian Wallace. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Danny. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, man. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has kind of been a pattern for me, just reaching out to people on social media. Barely met in person. We've never met, I should say, in person. What am I saying? And I just saw filmmaker in the title, and I said I have to reach out to him because this is the platform where I want filmmakers, creatives to discuss their journey.
Absolutely. I mean, me as a creative, and you as a fellow creative, like, I'm always interested, especially if we don't have that kind of natural path where we could have met naturally.
Exactly.
Through the collaboration of a project in school or something like that. I'm always curious as to, how people kind of came across me. So I know you're interviewing me, but if I could ask you, how did you come across me?
Honestly, I was going to ask you the same thing. So it's funny enough. I think it was just one of those osmosis situations. Like, we have mutual friends. So I think we just kind of followed each other. I know I'm in the habit of every time I'm trying to look for new guests or just new creatives to talk to, like, that's the whole point of this business, to build and expand your network. I just came across you. I don't know. There's a lot of methods. Again, that's why I keep saying osmosis. There's hashtags that I follow that's trending in the industry that I probably saw you pop on. But I just felt like we had like a good back and forth. I liked how you were supportive of my work, and you were very considerate with regards to this podcast, me setting it up, kind of like not just ghosting me, saying, hey, like, I'm really busy, like, let's get together. You know what I mean? Like, I really appreciated your professionalism. Yeah. So
no, absolutely. I know. No, it goes a long way. You saying that. I mean, hearing you say that, I mean, I think it doesn't matter, where you come from or what kind of opportunity you've had in life. What your status is, celebrity or not. Like, I think you got to treat everyone with respect. Nothing should change just because, I get into a Hollywood movie tomorrow, or you get like a $7 million deal with Spotify to do your podcast. Like, I don't think that should change the way we treat people.
Right.
So yeah, man, I think it's just the basics to just treat everyone with kindness and respect. But yeah, as for, how we got here, I guess it doesn't matter really. I mean, I think what's cool is that we're trying to, put each other on, and help each other climb the ladder. But I am kind of curious because I feel like the same DNA that we took to get here put us in front of each other. So if there's something that we did, one of us did, that would be worth sharing. I think would be worth sharing or saying out loud again so everyone can know.
Yeah.
But also just for us to kind of keep in mind for so moving forward, because I think it worked. You know what I mean? So I think that's the main reason as to why I think it's cool to kind of look back and think, hey, how did I get here, or how did I come across this person?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that was well said. Yeah, like, honestly, just whenever I look for guests, whenever I look to connect with fellow creatives, I go through my following list and I say, wow, like, I didn't even know I was connected to this person. And I see we have mutual friends. I also, like I said, I called you a prolific filmmaker. Like, you got a lot going on for you, which we're going to be discussing. And honestly, like that's the whole point of this podcast. Like that was the vision for me. In the beginning, I guess it was, you know, just as an excuse to survive boredom during the pandemic, you know, shoot the shit with friends. But I wanted it to be something more. And I realized there's a lot of content I can create out of it from a creative perspective. But also it's an excuse to talk to people and network, expand the network, right? It may lead to a potential collaboration. And I know it has for me. So other than becoming friends on this podcast, you never know where it could lead to us with the hopes of collaborating maybe in the future, right? If you ever need to connect on set or, you know, just if we can fill those roles, right? So I think it's very important for creatives to never settle for just one avenue on what they can use to express themselves or use as an outlet. I think it's very important that they're very versatile. So that's always been my motto. That's why I started this podcast. And because people have always told me that I make them feel comfortable and I'm a well-spoken individual. So I said, hey, podcasting might be a thing. Yeah, thank you. So having said that, man, we followed each other on Instagram, and Instagram is a great resume for creatives. Just immediately impressed with your list of accomplishments, accolades, and creative endeavors. I'd like to know from you, man, like, why did you decide to become involved in film?
Yeah, I think film making, storytelling is just, you know, one of the most powerful things that you can do in this world to provoke people, you know. And I particularly love the aspect of storytelling as an actor. I knew since maybe grade 6, probably before that I wanted to act. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to play make-believe and stick my feet in shoes of these characters that really just, you know, made people get behind them and take them on a journey. You know, that was probably a result of me watching, you know, VHSs galore, and my mom just doing, and my dad just doing a great job of you know, loving entertainment so much that, you know, they kind of pass it on to their kids. And, you know, me being a byproduct of the environment that they set up, I was able to kind of eat that content up and just kind of let it be part of me, to the point where I wanted to get involved as early as, you know, maybe grade 5 or grade 6. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of my initial love for this industry, is just you know, just seeing just people just go on screen and look like they're having a dope time, whether they're trying to make you cry or trying to make you laugh. It didn't matter. Just seeing these characters come to life was amazing, and I wanted to learn how to do that. I just got to a point as a, you know, child actor, transitioning into, you know, young teenage acting, and, you know, navigating representation or just trying to build a resume, you know, essentially on my own, because it was really hard to support myself in that field.
Right.
I learned very quickly, you know, once I got frustrated for not getting roles that I wanted earlier in my career as an actor, that I had to do something that was going to help me do that. And the thing I decided to do was learn how to pick up a camera, learn how to write a script, and essentially get some type of education behind the camera as much as in front of the camera, and really just hone my skills and add to my collective portfolio. So, but yeah, man, as far as I can remember, I've always wanted to be an actor, and that eventually motivated me to become more than that.
Nice. Yeah. So you used the career path, I guess, of an actor, or that passion as a stepping stone to break into the industry. And as seen on your profile, you've expanded in many different areas and disciplines in the art form. And it's interesting that you mentioned the whole parent aspect. I should add, because parents play a big role, obviously, as we know, in a children's life. But I like that you said, probably one of the few people I heard parents introduce you to film, and what kickstarted what eventually would become a career for you. Because that's how it was for me. Probably even further back than grade 6, like it was just a thing like my parents like to do. It's a ritual. Saturday night, watch movies. And I was literally an infant, they said, like three months old. And they said, hey, like, if we just put him here, like, do you think he'll cry? They weren't sure, right, if I would disturb them, and, you know, because every baby's different. Like my sister was not like that. Right. But I just sat there apparently, and obviously I didn't know what was going on. I guess was still, I guess it was, you know, by nature. And then as I get older, because they keep doing it, you just gravitate to the TV. You start saying to yourself, like, this is all I know. That's probably my earliest experiences. So really cool, man. Like kudos to your parents and mine for bringing us to this platform, right? That we love so much. So now that you mentioned the concept of being an actor, and obviously now I see you as a director, you're also a writer, and you do a number of things in the industry. Do you prefer to be in front or behind the camera?
Yeah, I could honestly tell you, to this day, man, I still find um, equal fun in both. I think I'm just passionate about storytelling, like
Okay.
period.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I may have been introduced to the industry from a desire to be an actor, but having to kind of expand myself a little bit and learn new skills and give myself more opportunities, because essentially that's what it was done for.
Yeah.
Stem from a place of frustration, not getting the roles that I wanted. When you're the writer, you're the creator of the world that's being presented in front of an audience. And that naturally gave me an opportunity to create the roles that I wanted to see myself reflected in. Like I was literally creating the roles for myself. If a casting director or director didn't see the value in me to cast me, I saw that value in myself. So I said, okay, well, let me learn how to put on a stage play or a theater play or a short film or whatever the case was, because I knew I could do it. So directing was just an extension of, my passion for storytelling. And that also became very natural for me because I was just so creative and because I had all these dope ideas. So I feel like naturally I just kind of put myself in a position to learn how to execute on all those hats, whether directing, acting, writing, getting my start in this industry as an actor. But I think, what I learned over time is that they all inform each other, especially directing and acting. Like directly, they're literally parallel. You could really understand the actor's point of view as an actor, being a director, or having been acting or done acting before as a director. And I always tell my fellow director friends, even if they've never cared for acting or was interested to pursue it, just take an acting class. Just take an acting class and explore yourself and surprise yourself with the education and the wealth of knowledge you can get. Seeing what they go through from a psychological standpoint. And come back to me and tell me how that informs you as a director, or what you learned that you can apply to your directing technique. So even if you weren't interested in acting, I always encourage my fellow director friends, or anybody for that matter, into directing, to take acting classes, because it can only help you. It won't hurt you. So man, I can honestly tell you to this day, I've found an equal love for it. I'm going to continue to pursue each of them, whenever I can, whenever it seems feasible, and just kind of keep growing as both.
That's great, man. Yeah, like very, very interesting points you've mentioned, valid points, I should say. Jonah Hill, I believe he said this, where it was like acting or being on set is like the best film school you'll ever get. That's part of the reason, as a fellow director. Cool. Yeah, right. That's part of the reason why myself, being a director, everything you're saying is I'm nodding my head, because my hero is Quentin Tarantino, and I kind of follow his career very closely and like how he made it. And he originally wanted to be an actor. He had a sight set on being an actor, and he attended acting classes. And he said by attending those acting classes, even though he didn't become, the next Marlon Brando, he said it was so invaluable to him, those lessons being learned, how to communicate to an actor, what an actor goes through, and also understanding that they're storytellers as well in their own way, that he applied that to his career as a writer and director. So that's something that I took upon myself, like you advised, is to take acting classes. And you're right, not only do you gain an insight on their world and, how to best deal with actors, and also an appreciation of what they go through on set, you also create great contacts. And you learn very quickly. I don't know if it's the generation or the industry, how it's kind of modernized or adapted to the ever-changing, landscape. But a lot of actors have become filmmakers, right? Like there's not a lot of actors I've bumped into where it's like, oh, they only make, little shorts, or they're a part of action. That's all they do. Like they're doing all kinds of things, like you, director, writer, they're a cinematographer. Basically what you were saying is they're storytellers, right? They're not confined to one role. And I think that's so important. It's such an interesting point, really, like that you said that. And I'm learning that more and more as I talk to these actors. It's like, no, these guys aren't just actors. Like that's their primary mission for some of them, but a lot of them are making their own content, which they should, just like a director needs to before he gets that Hollywood movie or that big budget project. You have to kind of do it your own, right? That's something that I was telling you before the podcast. A client of mine, he reached out to me and he wanted work for his demo reel. Instead of waiting on auditions, landing them, and then praying that it looks good, that he can use it as a demo reel, he said, hey, why don't you just write? Because he knows I like to write and I'm a director. He's like, why don't you just make some two short films, mini short films, whatever, nothing crazy, 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll use that as my demo reel if I like them. And so far so good, right? So there's definitely where there's a will, there's a way, right? And I definitely respect that you said, everybody, any means to tell a story, you're there, kind of thing, right? Doesn't matter if you're in front or behind the camera, as long as the story is being told and you're serving justice to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to kind of piggyback on your follow-up points, I think actors and definitely writers too, because they both explore entering a world where you have to really get deep and detailed.
Yeah.
And do so well in executing thoroughly that the person that you're conveying the story to, is understood. And I think that in itself makes, creative hat wearers like actors and writers so smart, because, when you look at the trajectory over time or their career over time, and, let's say there's about 20 pieces or 20 credits to their name, think about all the different worlds that they have to step into, the different roles they have to play, and things they have to learn about.
Yeah.
To I guess to create that portfolio for themselves. I'm talking an actor who might have played a lawyer and a doctor or a gangster, or it's just taking on these different personas, and to do that you have to take or you have to do a lot of research and a lot of homework. And it's the same with writing. You want to write about something that you're not too educated about. What do? You got to go and do the research. You got to get your Google tabs up and do your homework and learn about it. So, I think it's something that we really got to start appreciating more from that side of the industry, just the amount of work that people do to prepare themselves to and able to deliver something, whether it's on the acting or writing side. But of course, directors have their own research to do. You said you
for sure
are a big Quentin Tarantino fan, or
a
hero. So if you're going to create work or be inspired or have your work be inspired by his work, you couldn't have done that unless you put in the time watching and dissecting films. So, and I'm sure you're going to continue to do so. So yeah, man, I mean, it all goes back. It's all, everything we do is all rooted in something kind of, or someone paving the way, or something being interesting enough to tell a story about.
No, for sure. Yeah, that was well said. Like, like with actors, people don't realize like they're the front line, right? When you work retail, they say you're the frontline staff. That's what an actor is. If they don't feel comfortable on set, if they're not understanding of the script, or at least they respect the story, as I always like to say, they're not gonna make it believable for the audience, right? So it's your job, especially if you're a director, and that's why, credit to you, why you're encouraging the whole acting classes. You start to understand, how valuable it is to work with an actor and make sure they're as comfortable and relaxed as possible in conveying not only the story, but like, your ideas. A lot of actors too have interpretations on how to say the dialogue, right? Enunciations, what a character might feel is best. That's why when I do takes, it's always like, I let them in the first few takes, let them interpret it the way they want. And then I chime in and like tweak it the way I would like it, right? It's like, if you go in first saying, no, this is how I see it, right? They're not going to feel free to open up and interpret it the way they want. You got to let it out of their system. You got to let them explore the character first. And then as a director, you kind of fine tune it and, polish it the best way you can. That's in line with your vision. But a very, very important point, Adrian, like, you got to always remember that the actor is just as valuable like anyone on the set. And the best way to get it is probably, to attend an acting class, which I've been meaning to for a while. It's just hard with the pandemic, but been meaning to pop up eventually, because it's good. It's refreshing, right? You kind of get into that mindset. But what do you feel you were talking about a lot of, creatives like giving advice on, how they can best approach becoming a director or becoming an actor, or like the mindset they should have as a filmmaker, let's say. I'd like to know from you, like, what do you think the biggest challenges are for young creatives? Like they experience that desire to pursue a career in the arts?
Yeah, it's probably just drowning out the noise, and
Yeah.
I know you mentioned, you kind of touched on it earlier, whether it's, whether it's generation or something else, but I feel like in today's, day and age and era of cinema, and the next breed of, I guess, oncoming emerging creators, it's really hard to drown the noise of you needing the best camera to shoot something, or whatever limitation that media tells us that we need to have, and oh, you can't shoot this unless you have an epic red, or or dragon, or like an airy, like I feel like we just gotta somehow we have to mentally strengthen ourselves to just use the resources that are closest to us, that's within our circles, within our reach.
Yeah.
And just tell stories, because if I had waited for that perfect Arts Council grant to come in, or if I had waited, if I had enough money to buy the most amazing latest camera to tell a story, I don't even know if I'd be sitting across from you, telling, having this interview with
exactly.
you, because I was someone who was so hungry out of film school that I knew that any day that I let pass without me putting time into fulfilling this passion was an extra day that could possibly be accumulated to making me pursue another career. Because especially coming out of film school, you're dead broke. You have no money, barely any money to do anything.
Yeah.
And then you also have noise of people. It could be family members, maybe even friends who have a lot more successful careers than you, or at least more, I would say, financially supportive or stable careers. They're all telling you, hey man, where's the money? How are you sustaining yourself in this industry? So I feel like the most important advice I can give to anybody wanting to pursue a career in this industry is to just find a way to drown the noise. And it doesn't matter what the noise is. Like I can put a few examples, but you really just got to dig deep and remember that, being in filmmaking, being in this industry is a marathon, not a sprint. Some people, they get to, have their first feature film distributed by Netflix. That's not always going to be the case. We don't know if that's due to nepotism or the fact that their father was a celebrity actor, celebrity producer. Like, we don't know.
You don't know the full story. Yeah,
exactly. So you just got to take what you're given and make the most out of it. And that's what I did. And that's why, I'm here, and that's why I still have so much more to do. But yeah, figure out a way to just drown the noise and, get it done with the resources that you have.
No, it's very important what you said, the end of the day, I like with film school, a lot of people fall into that trap, right? When they graduate. It's actually, I think, a proven stat, like 95% don't even end up in the film industry, or it's not what they desire to be doing. Because the reality is, as Scorsese famously put, because I took his masterclass, film school allows you the opportunity to make a film. Doesn't give you a guarantee that you'll be a filmmaker. It's kind of up to you, like the artist, to kind of keep it, going for yourself. And I think it's so important that you have that mindset, and it makes sense, right? Like you're sorry, excuse me. Oh.
No worries.
My podcast arm is like there you go. Yeah, no, back to film school. So basically, it's so important what you were saying, man. And I respect that. I didn't go to film school. I missed that opportunity because I really wanted to. But in retrospect, I see it as a different way, kind of like following the footsteps of my hero, just kind of being the inspiration for people to say, like, hey, if you really want something, you can do it. You can put your mind to it. Everything I've done so far is self-taught. It's been really hard, connecting with people like yourself. Because I just didn't have that stepping stone. I was studying business at Ryerson, like completely, or Toronto Metropolitan University, as they say now. But nice. I really didn't have any leeway, any breakthrough. And like you said, you don't know, a lot of creators I've run into, like they get these opportunities, that opportunities, and you start chiming, picking away, and they say, oh, my dad, owns this company, or my dad's friends with the producer. Like I remember shadowing a director on set. I only got the job because the manager of the retail store I worked at recommended me to the director, right? Because he knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. But when I was working with him, there was a kid that was always on his phone, not, in the moment. And I finally figured out, his dad plays golf with the producer. So it's like, you don't know where they're coming from. These people, you can't really judge. You just got to really focus on yourself. Obviously it hurt me because I'm like, oh my God, like I worked really hard just to get this contact. Yeah, and this guy just showed up because his dad says, he wants to get into film, right? Quote unquote. Yeah. That toughens you up, right? That makes you kind of proud of yourself too. And I see that a lot in you, Adrian, is the tenacity, right? It's like a lot of these people, yeah, they got these handouts, but it wears off. It's only the real hustlers that survive and that have good work to show for, right? As proven with your impressive resume, which I'll get into, right? So yeah, your social media like truly showcases a wide array of achievements and film projects that you were responsible for. And most notably, you've been an alumni of the TIFF 2021 and a winner of the Canadian Film Academy. So what were the events in your career that led you to such opportunities?
Damn, I mean, everything we've talked about in this podcast. Yeah. Just like, I mean, like, not taking no for an answer, and just overcoming a plethora of different episodes of adversity, from losing your job,
right.
To not having money and losing motivation to keep telling stories, because I guarantee, one of the stories that I've told on, little to no money or no budget at all has gotten in front of the eyes of somebody who I've probably worked with today, probably will work with in the future.
Yeah.
And made them say, I want to work with this guy again, or continue to work with this guy. And it's all because I just did it. But, I will say that Courtside, a web series that I did back in 2015, was probably one of the projects that really kind of set the tone for me as a creative, just because it really gave me the opportunity to wear so many hats on it.
Right.
And coming out of film school, I know you didn't go personally,
right?
But film school, I would say, apart from just networking and meeting colleagues and some of your tribe that I definitely encourage you to find, obviously. And not just you personally, I mean like anybody. Like
no, for sure, yeah.
Tribe, period. And sticking with that tribe and sticking through them through thick and mud and growing and evolving together.
Exactly.
I would definitely say that was probably one of the biggest perks for me personally going to film school. And there's going to be politics anywhere. And obviously, YouTube is free.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to go to film school to learn film. But what I'm trying to say is that, I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of great people, a lot of talented people who are my friends today. And Courtside was one of those projects that allowed me an opportunity to wear so many hats and meet, friends in school that I still have the pleasure of calling them that today. And Courtside, I co-produced it, I co-wrote it, I co-led it, I acted in it and co-directed it. And that worked really well when I was acting in scenes. I can really just, sit back and let my co-director kind of direct me and let me trust his vision. So, but, I would say it was a project like that really, I guess, set the tone for me just in as far as, making kind of like a step stool for myself, or I guess a calling card, for the industry. Mm-hmm. I definitely encourage every creative to find that project that they can really, I guess, call their baby, and
yeah,
no baby gets to the point where they need to be, where they can take care of themselves unless you nurture and take care for it.
Yeah,
and all that stuff. So I definitely have to put Courtside up there as far as projects go that really helped me set the tone. And working with my co-creative Ahmed Omaid, this project has definitely served well as a calling card.
Right.
And we look back and we might not really noticed how that project in 2015 got us ready for an opportunity to take part in the TIFF Filmmaker Lab in 2021.
Yeah.
But it's all the things that you talked about, the lessons, the discipline, the adversities that you go through on this project that eventually motivated you to keep going and get to your next project. And it just became I guess a plethora of projects or passion projects that we went over. And when I say we, I mean me and my tribe, that we people that saw the talent in me, believed in me enough to trust me with a vision, even though they didn't always have money to support it. They saw something that all got us to this point where I had enough on my belt that I could say, you know what, I think I want to see what's good at TIFF. You know what I mean?
But, for sure, man.
It was obviously an accumulative of all the different projects that I've worked on today. Definitely I will never undervalue the importance of mentorship. I definitely encourage creatives to get mentorship wherever they can.
100%.
I know that it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not as easy as you send a DM on Instagram to your favorite director in Toronto. But sometimes you have to kind of go through the application process of programs and doing the work on your own so that you can present to these programs, these decision makers, that hey, I've been doing this enough on my own. Film school or no film school. Look what I've done. But I feel like you have to have something to show for it, so someone could give it an opportunity to help you continue honing your skills and building your career. I mean, I don't think anyone can really help you if you haven't done the work to help yourself. And I've done a plethora of programs. I've seen a plethora of people to offer me mentorship where they can, and put in the work, meeting people and connecting with people and just jumping on set for free or offering services for free, just to get close to the people that I think were inspiring me at the time. There's so many programs I can mention, or so many people that I can mention. I don't want to miss anyone or any program, but I definitely think it's a combination of you doing all of the work, and I think that's what all the work really includes.
Yeah, for sure. No, you answered a lot of my questions too. Like Courtside, was the project that you seem to be most proud of, and what got you in a way a breakthrough, right? So that got you to a lot of accolades and a lot of recognition in the industry. And this is the importance of, like we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast, is to constantly make it your own, right? Like, don't wait for an opportunity, do it yourself. And you put yourself out there consistently, and eventually someone bites. And in this case, it was TIFF, for example, which is a huge honor. That's something that, I made a film. I was approached by creatives I worked in the past, my colleagues, and we directed a film called Crack. Tried our best to submit it to TIFF Lab or the next wave, but we didn't get in. It not for anything, right? Obviously, it's a learning lesson for myself. It's tough with the arts. Not to say like undermine. I didn't think it was like the best film ever, but at the same time, it's like, you don't know why you didn't get in, right? So you kind of just have to assess for yourself as an artist. That's why I always say you got to be self-aware and say, what could have been improved next time, right? We didn't get a constructive piece of feedback, but from an individual's perspective, we can say, what can we improve for next time, right? So I think that's so important. And like you said, you'll have that one moment, that one film that will change it all, right? And that's what is really exciting. And I'm really happy that a story that was personal to you, a story that you really wanted to tell, kind of opened up all these opportunities, because that's what we want as storytellers, right? The whole point of what we do is that people watch it, right? It's like, I always say it like a comedian, right? Like, you don't want to tell a joke to one person or two people. You want a fair amount of people, right? Thousands and thousands. It's even funnier the more people you tell it to, right? And just like with a story, right? The more impactful it is if more people hear it and listen to it, right? So to be put on that platform with TIFF and the Canadian Film Academy, I could only imagine it was a definite honor. So I want to know, after receiving these accolades, this recognition from the industry, how did this benefit you, your career going forward? Like, was it instantaneous? Like, were people just messaging you, or were you connecting with a lot of elite professionals?
I definitely wanted to just kind of jump back on a previous point you made, because
for sure.
Just about I guess when it comes to creating impact, like how do we really measure our success by monitoring our impact, or how do we? Let me see if I can rephrase the question. I think collectively it makes us think about the question: how do we measure success, and how do we measure the impact that we create with our films?
Exactly.
If we look at it from the simple standpoint of you're in a film festival, your film's playing. It's a comedy short, for example, directed by Daniel, and the whole film, you only hear two people laugh. Do you think that film was a success or a failure?
Oh, that was a very interesting question. I wouldn't think it was a failure. Maybe my artistic, self-critical mind might.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, and the reason why is maybe it's back to your point is that it's just one room. You know, you don't know like what they're going through their mind, or it's not their taste in comedy, right?
Yeah, and that's a great, honest, transparent answer. And the reason I brought that example up is because I personally had a hard time figuring out how to measure my success. And I think I simplified it with the same model, which is if I can provoke just one person in a crowd of 100 to laugh, cry, think differently than how they came in, or approach something differently, or think a different way of how they used to think before coming and seeing my film. I think my job as a filmmaker for that project was a success. It might not always come in the form of money or a standing applause, but I think once I started adapting that, that's like I can take that little bit of information and maybe figure out how to double it. Then the next time, triple it, and then quadruple it. Go to that one person in the audience, say you laughed at that joke. Why'd you laugh?
There you go. Yeah.
Like, what was so funny about it? And
love it.
The chances are, if one person could react any way that you want them to get with this film, because that's why we make these stories to create impact, and to get people to think or invoke conversation, whatever it is. There's always an intention behind why we do these things. Yeah. If you can just get one reaction, you can probably get 10 the next time you do it. So that was the only reason why I wanted to bring that up. But
no, for sure.
As far as if these accolades, that I've been able to, get to date have, was there a specific accolade you were referring to? Or
no, I think I just meant the achievement, like being the alumni of TIFF and the Canadian winner of the Canadian Film Academy. Like in general, what I'm saying is, or with this film, particularly courtside, like how did what transpired after? I'm always curious, like when these events happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if I was to pinpoint it to a specific point, let's how about we pinpoint it to after the Canadian Screen Award? So
for sure.
After the Canadian Screen Award, mind you, I was in a place where I still wasn't represented as a director and a writer.
Oh, okay.
And this is in between doing numerous mentorship programs, winning awards for my own work that I created on my own accord with my own tribe. Mm-hmm. I was at the place where I was like, okay, maybe this Canadian Screen Award is the extra that I needed to really get in front of an established agent or an established agency, and so forth. So I had definitely used that to leverage, coupling that award with all the other experience and all the other accolades and all the other just credits that I've had to date. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started kind of shopping myself as a director writer. And lo and behold, eventually I was able to get represented. My agent is Jennifer Irons, and she is the first Black agent to represent a fully BIPOC roster in the industry, in the film industry. So I happened to just kind of cross paths with her at the right time, at the right place. And, I made my bidding for myself.
That's amazing.
But, of course I met with other people and, because, you definitely want to, talk to people, that's what it is you kind of feel, hey, like you get a feel for, is this the right fit for me? Do I feel like these people can, or this organization could nurture me and really offer me the guidance that I need to take my career to the next level? And I think after I got that Canadian Screen Award, I was at a pretty good place, or a place good enough to now, go in the trenches and sell myself a little more. to get represented, because
Right.
there's only so much we can do on our own.
Yeah.
And these agents are people who have connections that we don't, have keys to doors that we don't, and you need them on your team at some point. You 100% need them at some point. And I think I was at the point after the Canadian Screen Award to start going out and shopping myself for that representation, so I could try to open more doors and more opportunities for myself going forward. So that was definitely a big future from winning such an esteemed award, as it called, the Canadian Oscar, the Canadian Screen Award. That was definitely one of the biggest benefits, 100%. To kind of leverage. And, I definitely encourage everyone and anyone to, just try to do as many things as they can and rack up as many as their own, I guess, wealth of accolades to really make themselves undeniable, so that when they do approach somebody, it'll be a hard no on any side or anybody that they're preaching themselves to. But at the end of the day, even if they do say no, or even if, for whatever reason, they say, hey, I don't think we're ready to represent you, or we don't think you're ready in your career to take that next step.
Yeah.
There's still a blessing in that, because now you've introduced yourself to them. Now you've put them on their radar, and, you can kind of keep it as a point to kind of go back to and really be able to prove your difference. So, for me, I just think it was a good point for me to kind of leverage and get represented to hopefully take my career to the next level.
Yeah, because getting representation, right, is an artist dream, right? It leads you to more opportunities, and they kind of do all the legwork while you focus on the creative aspect. And that's something
a huge relief, by the way. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, I can imagine, man. I run, I started a small business, 94 Productions, and a one-man show, but I hate sometimes dealing with the business side, because it's like I'm a creative first, and I just can't think of that. But the reality is that you have to kind of understand both trades. But with the representation, yeah, for sure. Like, I can only imagine that's something, again, I aspire to as a young artist. Many of us do, is getting that proper mentorship, like you said, or guidance really in the industry in areas that maybe we're not too familiar with. So we can focus on what matters to us, and that is the creative part, right? But you also mentioned something very interesting, and something I'm hearing a lot more is the undeniable factor, right? That's so true. Be so good that they can't ignore you, right? Like, it's impossible. It's like, even though there's haters out there, even though like they discourage you, they look at it and they're like, damn, like that's a beautiful piece of art. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I actually can't,
trust me.
You know what I mean? As much as I hate you, and like, even if I'm spewing hate, like, you and I both know, like, you're just talking nonsense, right? And that's something that's important. That's an attitude, a mindset anyone should possess, right? Every time you make something, obviously it's not going to be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist, but get to the point where it's like undeniable. Like, you put all your heart, all your sweat, your tears, your effort into that, your energy, and you just try to make the best you can out of it, right? I think that's so important to have, and I'm glad you possess that kind of mindset, for sure. And so back to, like, social media, the platform that got us together, that we connected. It's a gateway to accessing incredible and talented artists like yourself, because we want to build strong and everlasting communities. How has social media served you throughout your career?
Yeah, it's crazy, because I personally have a love-hate relationship with social media.
Me too,
it's
man.
kind of one of those things where if I didn't have to use it, I would question if I should be using it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, and it just kind of goes back to the noise, and you kind of put yourself in that environment where there's so many things telling you to do something one way or another way. But the voice you got to listen to the most is the one that is telling you to do it the way you want.
Yeah.
And use whatever latest edition of technology to your own, I guess, comfort and your own form of free expression. But yeah, I mean, I think in this day and age, I feel like we definitely have to use it as a tool to, one, network, two, share your work. The internet is free.
Yeah.
as I mentioned earlier, we're not all going to get our first films on Netflix or Prime or whatever the case is. So we got to use what we could afford. I mean, some people can't even afford internet, so just go figure, right? But what I'm saying is it's probably the cheapest thing that we could try to afford and use. And social media for me was just another tool to share my art and to reach other people who are in positions like me, who are just as hungry as me, to share their work. So I mean, there's no denying that it's been useful. Obviously, sometimes you can fall into the crutches of what media says you should be doing with your social media, and that's the part where it can get bittersweet. And
people shoving down your throat, like, you got to market it like this. You got to market. I know it takes away that fun, right? And it's a beauty.
It really does. And sometimes it almost forces a bit of pressure on you to kind of keep up with what you see and what you expose yourself to, or what the apps that you use are exposing you to.
Yeah, the algorithm.
Oh, that guy just dropped a video like last week. I got to drop a video this. Like,
right? Yeah.
You got to just really just stay in your own lane and just remember why you're on it, and just try to stay within the intention of why you're on it. And I think, top two reasons is obviously to share your art, promote your art, and to network. And I think for me, it's worked well when I keep those focuses. Everything else that comes with it is optional, is a bonus, or I just maybe something that can actually work against you. But yeah, man, I mean, it's definitely important to network yourself. 100%. And to network what you're working on, because you could be the Einstein of filmmaking. If no one knows who you are, then like you said, what are we creating all these great stories and the work for, right? So be proud of the content, put it out there. And a big thing too, right, is like stay in your lane. Like, don't think what like you said, like that music video is being posted, what have I done lately? Like, it's kind of like your time will come, focus on the project. Just because you're not posting doesn't mean you're not working, right? Like, I didn't post at all this weekend, but I'm like working on, I told you, my short film. I'm working on these podcasts, and then when I post, it'll appear to another creative as if I've been, doing a lot of stuff. But it's like, like that's what I've been working on in the meantime. But there are days when we take breaks. There are days when things just don't work out the way we want. But every day, like, we live in a hustle, grind and hustle mentality, like society. The reality is like, we're human. At the end, some days, you're gonna have that creative spark. Some days you're not going to be working with people you intended to work with, or a project, what I'm saying, comes to fruition. It's the nature of the business. Like, it's a lot of catch up and wait. That's something we have to remind ourselves too as creatives. Like, this isn't a corporate 9-to-5 job. You know what I mean? And I think just to jump in, I think as creatives, we do so many things, and like you Danny, like, you're one man band behind your own production. Thank you. And so, you of all people know what it's like to be the admin and then to be the creative. It's like, I think we get to a point, and we can only try to avoid burnout as much as we can as creatives, but I think we get to a point where we really have to start prioritizing quality over quantity, Right. And I think once we get to that point, that will allow us to help alleviate the pressures that, being on these apps and being exposed to things happening around us, and the pressure of, maybe people that we know, or people that we don't know, and seeing them succeed in other ways that we are not maybe succeeding as of yet, force you to do or don't do. So I think, quality over quantity is, something that can really help us just kind of simplify what our focus should be as far as how to use these apps. For sure. And pushing content. Utilize them best and optimally, like in service to us instead of in service to someone else. And to be not in service of vanity, right? Because we don't need that as creatives. It's simply for the service of inspiring or telling a great story. So well said on that. But I do want to ask you, like, what advice, I guess not even advice, but I guess we've discussed this about, all the things that if people are struggling with opinions or criticisms of others, you're basically saying is to channel it, kind of isolate it, right? Like, focus on yourself. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the quiet beauty of, things like social media that we do need, it's a double-edged sword. I think the quiet beauty behind it is the fact that you're still in control at the end of the day. You can decide to use it or not.
Yeah.
You know, they have a deactivation feature, or you can just delete it, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like no matter which way we go, we got to pick our poison at some point. You know, there are creators who have navigated their career without ever having to get on it.
Yeah.
And other people have used other ways to use it and leverage themselves, you know, to put their work out and to put themselves out and to make the industry realize who they are. But I mean, sometimes we do got to take those breaks and step away, for our own, peace of mind, for our own mental health. Because like I said, we're exposed to a lot of these apps and through social media, and the media saying it has to be this way. You know, it's like, what are the European standards of beauty? You know what I mean? It's like, it could be what we see on TV and in the magazines, or it could be what we believe they are to be, it could be simply as what we want to define as beauty. I think that's what we got to realize about us as artists as well. You know, we have to be in control of what we call our success. Like success doesn't necessarily need to be you driving a Tesla,
the metrics of success. Really, that's the takeaway with you. Yeah, the metrics of success. Like, how do we measure it? Yeah, for ourselves.
Yeah, I think we really got to just find a way to make whatever that we use work for us, and as opposed to not having it work or us work for them. So, they're going to make their money off us regardless. So we might as well try to find a way where we could benefit off it as well.
That's great, man. Yeah, no, that was really well said, and very inspiring to hear it. And this is why I do this podcast, right? Like, bring on people like yourself that have tenure in the industry, that have seen it, been through it, not just talk about it, right? And provide like their honest opinion. Like, I love the fact that you said it's a love-hate, because that's how it is for me. You know, as people are oddly confused, like, hey, like, how could you say that about social media if this is how you created your business and got all your contacts, and you seem to love it because you're making content. And it's like, no, it's like, I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to scroll on it and be on it, but I have to for the nature of the business, man. Like, it's just the way, like, I would never be able to connect with someone like yourself if it wasn't for social media. Right. So instead of, being out of it, right, being out of touch, I'd rather be in the game. If you can't beat him, join him, as I say. But there's ways in which you can adapt to it, right? Like, for me, I just post, I would scroll through it and I kind of get addicted on it. But for the most part, I try to have a method where I just post and then I put the phone away, my room, whatever, and I do my own thing. And then at the end of the day, I'll see like who left comments, who this and that. It's kind of like you told me when we were connecting, you don't have notifications set. I'm like, perfect. That's like me. Like, when I post something, I don't want like a bombardment of notifications on my home screen, just alerting me. I get easily distracted. So you got to make it work for you and what works best for you. Right. So yeah, man, I really appreciate that. You providing, insight, your journey as a creative, as a filmmaker, a lot going for you as well. I'm sure there's a lot of projects you're working on right now. Can you tell us about, what's next for you, or what you aspire to be, what's next in your career?
Yeah. Just keep building, keep trying to pave my way as a director, writer, and trying to make myself more established and convince people to see that I'm established, and you don't do that by not working. So, between fulfilling myself as a creative and working on passion projects and telling stories that I think the world can really resonate with, I do have a few projects in the pipeline. I'm working on 2 feature films, a TV show. But we still got to eat in between that. So wherever I could, make money, maybe helping someone else direct their film, because we're not all blessed with the talent to write and direct.
Right.
Some people can just write, and then they look to employ a director. Some people are directors and they don't write, so they are looking to employ writers. So whatever the case is, man, I think all of our advantages and our disadvantages, our capabilities and our non-capabilities are what, keeps the industry going. Mm-hmm. As long as there's another one of us trying to do what we do, we'll always have a place to kind of find work. So I'm I'm just, just trying to stay grounded, stay humble, and keep these projects going as much as I can, and just build my experience to the point where I'm a reputable director, writer, and actor in this industry.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, no, that's really motivational to hear that you have something going forward. There's always something next for us creatives. Like, we're never burnt out, and we're always inspired, right, to tell our next stories. I think that's so important, and to constantly be in that routine, right? That mindset of putting stuff out there. So really appreciate your time, Adrian. This has been a really insightful podcast. Very, very knowledgeable. Yeah, man. Like, this is exactly what I wanted, for people like yourself to come on and share their story, share their journey, to inspire someone that might be listening to this, if they have one foot in, one foot out in the industry, or are too shy to mention about their creativity, or just any possibility, any which way it can be kind of inspired by it, right? So really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your story, man.
Thanks, Daniel, and I appreciate you having me, man. And I gotta give a bunch of kudos to you for being able to pursue, your production company, this podcast.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to jump on a podcast for a long time, not just like as a special guest, but to run my own. Because I feel like there's so many cool conversations that we could have in this film community. And in this industry alone, and just a wealth of knowledge that I think could benefit multiple people. But it comes down to our bandwidth and our capacity. So I hope you definitely reward yourself whenever you can for doing all that you do. And I'm definitely going to try to do the same for myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. Let's definitely keep this conversation going. In and outside this podcast.
Of course. Yeah.
And continue to support each other wherever we can, man. Thank you for having me. Really,
of course. Thank you so much, Adrian. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone else, for listening, and we'll talk soon.